let's see here. Oh, this meeting is being live streamed. Got it. Okay, that makes sense. So that's what I wanted. Oh, this is looking more promising. Still looking more promising here. Oh, I see something working. I see it working. This is great to hear. Great to see. Oh, we're live. Let's go. Indiana walks into paradise and crushes Serbian opponent BC Mega. And in 2021, I know we can drive electric cars and drones are flying everywhere, but you couldn't stream this game and you couldn't listen to the audio live. Fortunately for you, we had IndianaHQ correspondent Jevan McCoskey there on site in the arena to cover the action. And that's what we're going to talk about here on episode 211 of the Hoosier Sound, where we are the official podcast of IndianaHQ. Our mission and goal is simple, and it is coming to fruition tonight. We want to bring in-depth analysis and coverage of Indiana sports to as many fans as possible across a multitude of modern platforms. We are recording this special edition of the Hoosier Sound on Friday night, August 13, 2021, where I'm your host, Nithin Krishnan. With me is Jevan McCoskey live from his hotel room in Nassau. Jevan, how's everything going? And let's get rolling from the top. What are 2 or 3 things that stood out to you over the course of the 40 minutes where Indiana beats BC Mega 79-66?
Yeah, well, first things first, I definitely can't complain. I mean, I'm in Nassau in the Bahamas being able to record basketball or being able to report on basketball. So it really doesn't get much better than the position that I'm in right now. But like this game, there's so many things you can talk about. But first things first, what needs to be said is this is a totally different team than the team that we saw last year, the year before that, and even the year before that. Really, the entire Archie Miller tenure. This team is totally different from. Other than Trayce, this team is totally different. So you look at the starters. You had 3 transfers, 3 new faces in the starting lineup: Parker Stewart, Miller, Kopp, and Xavier Johnson. The 3-point shooting is something that has to be touched on. I mean, you look 7 for 19. There weren't a lot of games where IU made 7 threes last season. You look at the defense that was played. 23 turnovers were forced. 34 points off turnovers is what the team was able to accumulate. So the defense, the 3-point shots, and just the energy. You look up and down this roster, and I can give you 3 or 4 players that the energy that they bring is top notch. Like Miller Kopp, he is one of the best vocal leaders I have ever seen on a basketball floor. Obviously, Trayce Jackson-Davis is going to bring energy with the dunks, with the defense, the blocks, and then you have freshman Tamar Bates, who I think is phenomenal on the basketball court, but I think he's an even better teammate. He brings energy. He's a vocal leader as a freshman, which is something you're not going to get, but it's something you maybe expect out of a 5-star freshman, but is not something you get a lot out of freshmen. So I think just, the team energy, the 3-point shooting, and the defense, which is something that Mike Woodson said they have been working on the last 2 months. Those are the 3 things that definitely stood out.
Jevan, when we look at the starting lineup tonight, it was Xavier Johnson and Parker Stewart in the backcourt, Miller Kopp, Race Thompson, and Trayce Jackson-Davis in the front court. Over the next 15, 20 minutes for all of you, I'm going to put Jevan on the spot. I'm going to grill him player by player. He's going to give you a 1 to 2 minute breakdown of what he saw from each guy. Jevan, let's start with the superstar. Trayce Jackson-Davis, 32 minutes, 21 points, 9 of 15 from the floor. Take at it. What happened to Trayce Jackson-Davis tonight? How did you see him play after an offseason here?
Yeah, you can tell that Trayce Jackson-Davis has put on more muscle throughout the offseason, and you can tell also that he's more willing to take that outside jump shot. He took 2 close to 3-point range shots. One of them actually was recorded as a 3 at first and then was taken back. He must have had his foot on the line or something like that, but he did hit it. So he is more willing to take that long range jump shot, but Trayce Jackson-Davis is going to do what he does best, and that is absolutely dominate the paint, and that's what he did. In a lineup that BC Mega had, where they started 3 players that were 6'9", 6'9", and 6'10", Trayce Jackson-Davis was still able to dominate against this professional team. Like you said, he played 32 minutes, had 21 points, led the team in points. But not only did he have 8 rebounds, but 4 of them were offensive. So he did a really good job at crashing the offensive boards. Trayce Jackson-Davis did what we all thought that he was going to do, and that is dominate. And he is going to be the centerpiece for this team moving forward, as he was last year, but definitely going into his junior season.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be really exciting for IU fans to hear. I think the 32 minutes stands out too. He mentioned his conditioning during the press conference a week ago, literally last Friday night. He spoke during the daytime. He talked about conditioning, 32 minutes, even in an exhibition game, pretty exciting. Let's talk about the point guard, Xavier Johnson, new face, new place, comes over from Pitt. Starts at point guard. Talk to Hoosier Nation about Xavier Johnson.
Yeah, so I don't think we saw Xavier at his best tonight. He only took 4 shots. And I think what Woodson was trying to do is, Finney came off the bench and played more minutes than Xavier, and also Lander played 7 minutes as well. So I think he was just kind of trying to see who fits into the rotation better between the point guards. But Xavier Johnson is extremely aggressive. Like, he's not the point guard that, as tonight, he did have 3 assists and only 1 turnover, but he's an extremely downhill point guard. He's not someone who's going to hold the ball up at the top of the key. He is trying to get to the basket, and it doesn't matter who's in his way. He did try and go up against a 6'10" player tonight for BC Mega and got sent back into the third row. But it's nice to just see that aggressiveness. Like I said, he did have 2 steals tonight. So he's also someone who on the defensive side is going to be aggressive as well, not just on the offensive side. And like I said, he might not have had the best shooting night, only 2 for 6, but he did have a positive plus minus. And he's going to be aggressive, and it's someone that, he is a transfer, so it's going to take maybe a little bit of time to be a little more comfortable with this roster and in this lineup and with a new head coach. So give him a little bit of time, but it was very promising seeing what Xavier was able to do.
Yeah, 4 points, 3 assists, 2 steals for Johnson in his 15 minutes. He got into a little bit of foul trouble, but that's nothing to freak out about here in the middle of August. Jevan, you mentioned the plus-minus category. The leader for the Hoosiers tonight was Northwestern transfer Miller Kopp, who, again, we said he started. He played 24 minutes. What did you see out of Miller Kopp, who was the star of the video that we posted during the game tonight?
Yeah, so Miller Kopp was maybe, if not the most surprising player that I saw tonight, was definitely the second most surprising player. He was doing things that I didn't expect him to be able to do. You think of the name Miller Kopp, and obviously the shooting comes to mind. But what I was seeing from Miller Kopp tonight was creating his own shot off the dribble, being able to attack the basket, finish at the rim. He had 14 points, 14 huge points, and there was a stretch in the second half where he was able to hit a corner 3. He got a steal, hit a pull-up 3, which is something, a pull-up transition 3, which is something IU fans don't even probably know what is.
That's the best sentence I'm going to hear all night. Yogi Ferrell was so great at that particular play, and then we just never saw it the last 5 years. My gosh.
And so it's hard. I asked him after the game, I said, when you get into that kind of mode where you see shots fall, talk to me about your mindset. And he said that his mindset's the same throughout the entire game. It doesn't matter if he's missing a shot. It doesn't matter if he's making every shot, which is very important for a shooter to have. You have to have a short memory, make or miss. And it's something that he has. 5 of 12, he was 3 for 4 from 3. And like I said, he hit a corner 3, he hit a pull-up 3, and he hit a spot-up 3 at the very beginning of the game. We mentioned the plus-minus of 17, which was the highest. He did have foul trouble. He did have 4 fouls, but that comes and goes with your first game. And he was able to grab 5 rebounds. So not only is he helping spread the floor, but he's also crashing the rebounds, and 2 of them were offensive rebounds. So Miller Kopp was very, very impressive tonight.
Yeah, I just want to say hey to everyone who just joined our live stream here. Indiana knocks off BC Mega, Serbian pro team, 79-66. We spoke on the podcast a couple of nights ago when I was there with Matt Lukens about how this game was, to me and to Matt, this is going to be a close contest. And I even said, don't be surprised if BC Mega whooped Indiana. And the opposite happened. The Hoosiers were in control from start to finish. They win by double digits. Jevan McCoskey, our IndianaHQ contributor, was at the game, and he's coming to us live from his hotel in the Bahamas. If you have any questions, drop them in the live chat here. We'll answer it over the course of the next 15 to 20 minutes while we're still broadcasting live. Indiana, again, wins by double digits, and we're going player by player and getting Jevan's 2 cents on each of the guys that wore the cream and crimson for the Hoosiers tonight. I also was a little surprised to see them in their practice jerseys. I don't know why I was expecting IU to be wearing their traditional home or away jerseys or in their practice unis. Don't care. Just thought that was kind of funny. The next starting player I wanted to bring up, Jevan, was Trayce Thompson. He's somebody who we weren't sure what his particular role was going to be with Mike Woodson instead of Archie Miller. What did you see out of Trayce Thompson tonight? Looking at the stats, he seemed to have a pretty impressive game.
Yeah, I think we should just start calling him old reliable because I think that's what he's turned into for this Indiana roster. I mean, 8 points, 3 of 7 shooting. And he was able to get to the foul line. He knocked down both of his free throws, which is something that, I know it's only 2 shots, but it's impressive when looking at this team, especially in the past that they've had with their struggles from the free throw line. He didn't have to play a ton of minutes, which I think is important for Trayce. He only played 20 minutes, and he was able to, to produce the 8 points, the 5 rebounds, 2 of those being offensive rebounds. So if we can, in my opinion, if we can get Trayce to that 8 to 12 point range and not have him play 30 plus minutes a game like we do with Trayce, I think that's very important for this team, especially when you have players. I know we'll get to it later, but like Jordan Geronimo absolutely dominated tonight, and that's what took a little bit of the pressure off of Trayce. But Trayce he's just old reliable. He's going to do exactly what you think he's going to do and what he needs to do.
And then the last player to round up the starting lineup is Parker Stewart, who transferred over to Indiana in, I believe, early 2020. And he finally wears the jersey for the Hoosiers. That doesn't sound right. I think early 2021 is when he transferred.
2021, yeah.
2021, yeah. Now that's what I get for ad-libbing here. Stewart got the starting spot, played 21 minutes, didn't take too many shots out there. But Jevan, how did he fit in with the rest of his Hoosier teammates tonight?
You say he didn't take too many shots. He only shot 1 for 4. You look at that and you would think, well, maybe he struggled a little bit, but really he didn't. I mean, he was – whenever Xavier was playing off the ball, Parker's the person who had to handle the ball with the starting rotation, and he did a great job of doing that. And then you look at the defense. I mean, Parker had 4 steals. That doesn't happen every single night. His length at the 2-guard position, like his wingspan, creates a lot of trouble for offensive players, and he's able to produce the 4 steals that he had. And he didn't really have any assists, but he was able to control the ball, and he only had 1 turnover. If I remember correctly, it wasn't, something that was his fault. So he played 20 minutes, only had 3 points. The 3 that he did hit was a corner 3, and it was huge. It was in the middle of like a 9-minute run that I think the Hoosiers were on like a 13-2 run. And so Parker didn't have his best game, but he still played extremely well and very, very well on defense with the 4 steals.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember too many games last year where any Indiana player had 4 steals. So that definitely stood out to me from a statistical standpoint. Indiana led BC Mega 41-32 at halftime, and then won the second half 38-34 in front of 300 rabid fanatics and sports writers in the island of Atlantis. So before we get into the bench, I just want to send out a friendly reminder to everyone. Make sure you follow us over on Twitter at IndianaHQ and at the Hoosiers Sound to make sure you get the full scale attention and coverage of this Bahamas trip that Indiana is taking. Plenty of football news swirling around with fall camp upon us. Make sure you give us a follow over on IndianaHQ and at the Hoosiers Sound. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube. We're partners, and you can find us there. Also, make sure wherever you listen to podcasts, you leave us a review, tell a friend, share our links. That kind of support really, really helps us grow. So, Jevan, let's dive into the role players tonight. Someone who used to be a starter that came off the bench was Rob Phinisee, and he was a focal point of our discussion on the podcast on Wednesday night. What did you see out of Rob Phinisee, who came off the bench but played almost 18 minutes?
Yeah, it's looking at what Rob has said over the summer. He's talked about how he struggled with confidence within the last couple of seasons and how he didn't think he played as well as he could have, obviously, last year. And you look at the stats tonight and you say, okay, he shot 1 for 7. Probably not the best. He shot 1 of 4 from 3. Probably not the best. But I saw a different Rob Phinisee tonight than I have seen, especially last season. His freshman year, I saw it a little bit. But, I mean, Rob was aggressive, but it wasn't the aggressiveness where you see, okay, there's 6 seconds left in the shot clock and I have to go get a shot. It was getting a shot early on in the shot clock, and it wasn't dribble. Okay, Trayce, come set me a screen. It was, like I said, downhill. Everything was attacking. He, like I said, 1 for 7 doesn't seem like it was that good, but he played a very good game. He had 4 assists. He did have 3 turnovers, so that could probably be shaving down a little bit. But 4 assists, 2 steals, a block, and 3 rebounds out of your point guard. I think that's a very productive game. He only had 4 points, but at the end of the day, we didn't need him to have a scoring game that we've seen him have before. But he did play 17 minutes, which was more than the starting point guard. So we'll see what happens Sunday, who starts, who doesn't. But yeah, don't look at the scorecard too much when it comes to Rob Phinisee, because he brings a lot more that doesn't show up on the scorecard.
We're going to get to Tamar Bates in a second, the 5-star freshman who did impress tonight. But one more question about the point guards right now. Do you get the sense that Xavier Johnson and Rob Phinisee and Christian Lander are all fighting for the same spot, fighting for the playing time here? And do you see a pecking order as things stand, or is it too early to call that at this point?
I think it might be just a little too early, but I will say I think Rob and Xavier are fighting for the 1 spot, and I think Christian and whoever doesn't get the 1 spot are fighting for the 2. So I don't think Christian is necessarily a starting point guard for the Indiana Hoosiers just yet. I mean, he's still only the age of a regular freshman. So you're going against 2 people who are seniors at this point.
Right.
So while I don't think Christian can be a starting point guard for Indiana right now, I do think Xavier and Rob are fighting for that 1 spot. But I mean, even if you like you see tonight, where one plays 15 and one plays almost 18 minutes, that can happen all year. And if you have a player that, if you have a night where Xavier is playing better than Rob, then you give him an extra 5 minutes and take those minutes away from Rob. Same thing, vice versa. So I think that's something that you could see for the rest of the year.
Let's talk about Tamar Bates, Jevan, 5-star freshman who played 20 minutes tonight, which was one of the 6 or 7 highest amounts of playing time on the team. He scored 14, which is the 2nd highest total on the team, along with the 14 that Miller Kopp scored behind Trayce Jackson-Davis's 21. Go ahead, Jevan. Talk to us about Tamar Bates.
Yeah, this kid is special. He is going to be special, and I'm looking for him to have a huge freshman year. I don't think he's going to be one of those freshmen that come in and doesn't play a lot. This is someone that could potentially be a starter midway through the season, in my opinion. I know it's only 1 game, but he's someone he came from IMG, which is a school that prepares kids for Big Ten basketball, right? And I spoke to him about that yesterday after practice, and he said that going to IMG is what he said that move from my senior year, I knew it was going to help me my freshman year of basketball. And looking at it, 14 points, 5-8 shooting. From the moment he came off the bench, he was aggressive. And that's not something you typically get out of a freshman either. I know he's a 5-star, but I even talking to Trayce Jackson-Davis, I asked him, just speak on how Tamar played tonight. And he said, Tamar is one of those people who will call for the ball and know that he's going to go get a bucket. He just has that. He's that player that Indiana hasn't had the last couple of seasons, where if the shot clock is running down, go give it to him and let him go get a bucket. He did it all 3 phases tonight: at the rim, mid-range, and behind the 3-point line. And he was able to get to the free throw line too. He shot 3 or 4 from the free throw line, 1 or 2 from 3, and 4 or 6 from 2. He is going to be a standout player for this team, and I can't speak highly enough of him. Like, I genuinely think he's going to be in the running for Big Ten Freshman of the Year.
There we go. Those are some pretty big words, given some of the really talented players coming into the conference this year. Guys like Max Christie going to Michigan State, Caleb Houston going to Michigan, Caleb First and Trey Kaufman-Renn going to Purdue. It's going to be a loaded Big Ten Freshman of the Year race, and I'm sure I forgot some guys. Bates finished with 14 points in his 20 and a half minutes. I think you rattled off the numbers, but just to say them again, 5 of 8 from the field, 1 for 2 beyond the arc, 3 for 4 from the free throw line, 3 boards. He had a steal, a turnover, 4 fouls, but at the end of the day, many, many more positives than negatives for Tamar Bates. The next bench player I want to talk about is Christian Lander. Jevan, 5-star freshman from a year ago. We're curious to see what type of leap he can make this year. He only played 7 minutes, which was the lowest of all the scholarship players who are available. And I just want to make it clear that the 3 guys who did not play tonight were Logan Duncombe, Michael Durr, the transfer from South Florida, as well as Anthony Leal. So those 3 players didn't play. Of the remaining scholarship players, Christian Lander, 7 minutes. We're a team low. Don't look into that too much. But Jevan, talk to me about what you saw out of Christian Lander, both on the court and off.
On the court, I saw a much more calm and relaxed basketball player. If you look at the film from him last year, he was a 17-year-old freshman who came on to play in the Big Ten in Indiana, and you could just tell when he was on the floor that he was he was trying too hard to make the right play. He was trying too hard to make the basket. When you're a basketball player, you're almost a 5-star. Let the basketball come to you, right? And that's what you saw tonight. Like, he was only 2 for 3, like you said, only played 7 minutes, but the shots that he was getting weren't the 28 footers, that the long twos. That the two that he made were right at the rim, and they were jump stops, pump fake, get your defender in the air, and get a little layup. And then when you look off the court, I mean, there is not a single player on this floor. I talked about it earlier, the energy. There's not a single player on this team that is negative in any way towards anybody, any coach, any decision that is made. Christian Lander was the first person off the bench other than Trayce Jackson-Davis during timeouts. He was the first person to greet his team, first person to greet Xavier and Rob. There's no bad blood whatsoever. So I don't want that to be a thought that is in Hoosier fans' head at all, because there's not. And like I said, Christian he's only 18 as a sophomore. He still has time to grow, and I think we need to give it to him. And he's going to be a phenomenal basketball player. He just the game needs to slow down for him, and I think it's starting to.
Thanks to everyone who's joining us here on this live chat. Indiana knocks off Serbian pro team BC Mega 79-66 in the Bahamas tonight. We're talking to our on-site correspondent, Jevan McCoskey, who's at the game. If you haven't yet, make sure you follow us on IndianaHQ at Twitter account and Facebook. We're at IndianaHQ everywhere you look. We're at the Hoosier Sound as well. Drop your questions in the chat. Jevan, we have a question from one of our listeners, Eric Hale, who asks, how hard were the players from BC Mega playing? Of course, it's a pro team. How much do they really have at stake? We're going to get into Nikola Jovic, their NBA draft prospect, a little bit later. But what was a generic sense of what you got from BC Mega, specifically from an effort and engagement standpoint?
Well, I think the only answer that really matters is the fact they didn't play as hard as IU, and it was very evident. IU came out knowing that they had something to prove, I feel like, and they did just that. And I don't think it's true when you say they don't have anything to lose when talking about BC Mega. I think they're a professional basketball team. I don't think it's a good look to lose to a college Division I. I know it's a high Division I basketball team, but they're still a professional basketball team. But no, they did not play as hard as Indiana, and maybe they'll look at that and come out and play harder. They should come out and play harder on Sunday. But don't take that as they didn't play hard at all, because they were playing hard. Just the intensity that IU was playing with, especially on the defensive end, was something that I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, just like Eric, make sure all of you, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat here. We'll go for another 10 or 15 minutes tonight as Indiana knocks off BC Mega by double digits. We're going through player by player and getting Jevan's analysis from what he saw from each guy tonight. Jevan, the next scholarship player I wanted to mention was Jordan Geronimo. 20-plus minutes tonight. Did a number of things that stood out, at least to people who were at the game, including yourself and your reports over on the IndianaHQ Twitter account. Team high 9 rebounds for Jordan Geronimo. What did you see out of Indiana's second-year player?
One word, and it is energy. That when he is on the floor, there is no one with a higher motor than Jordan Geronimo. And he has the quickest second jump maybe I have ever seen live in person. His ability to go up, miss a shot, come back down, and get his own rebound is second to none. Like you said, team high 9 rebounds. He had 5 offensive rebounds, and 3 of them came in one possession where it was let's just say he had to work hard to get all 3 of them. You're playing against a roster where only one player is below 6'4", and you had 3 players who were 6'10" and 3 others who were 6'9". So he was undersized at his position, but he didn't let his size diminish what he did whatsoever. Jordan's one of those players who, what he does isn't really probably going to show up on the score sheet. He was able to knock down a 3 and hit a free throw, and the 3 that he hit was 20 seconds after he checked in. So that was nice to see. But yeah, what he does doesn't necessarily contribute to his scoring, but it will contribute to the overall team scoring. Being able to get second chance points and be able to grab the ball and push up the floor to the point guards and get down the court fast.
Then if my math is right here, Jevan, the last scholarship player that we need to talk about is Trey Galloway, who played 17 and a half minutes, scored 3 points, was 1 for 4 from the field, but he went out and he dished out 3 assists as well, which was he was one of 3 Hoosiers who had at least 3 assists in the game, along with the 2 other point guards, Xavier Johnson and Rob Finney. What did you see out of the Culver Academy's product, Trey Galloway?
Yeah, again, same thing with Christian Lander and what I'm sure with Anthony Leo if we were to see him play. he's just much more relaxed and more calm. I feel like Trey is one of those players that has a really high motor. And I think at times last season, you saw that kind of get out of control at times, maybe a little bit, but he still plays with that same high motor, but he's more confident and more calm. And I think that just comes with playing a year in the Big Ten and playing, getting past your freshman season. He was only 1 for 4 from the field, did knock down a 3. So that was impressive to see. He only took 1, and it was in a big moment. It was in the first half. I think it pushed our lead to 5 or 6, and then we took off from there in the first half. But yeah, you mentioned that 3 assists. They weren't like catch and swing assists. They were, I have the ball in my hands, I'm trying to create, and one of them was a pocket pass to, I believe it was Trayce Jackson-Davis. It could have been Race, but it was an absolute dime, something I didn't see him do at all last year, really. And he didn't have any turnovers, which is something that was really nice to see as well. He did have a little bit of foul trouble, but like you said, that's going to happen, especially in your first game of the season. But yeah, there wasn't a negative thing I could really say about any one of these players that got the chance to play tonight.
Wonderful to hear. Yeah, the Hoosiers win 79-66. Jevan, in this next segment, I want to talk about some high-level team stuff.
Yeah.
For example, the first thing that I really wanted to mention and really wanted to ask you was scheme-wise. New coach, Mike Woodson, new assistants too, except for Kenya Hunter, who's a Archie Miller holdover. Schematically, did anything stand out as far as zone versus man-to-man, the type of offense they're running, and then just your thoughts in general about Mike Woodson leading the charge in his first college coaching game?
So Mike Woodson he's on the record saying that these last 2 months there hasn't really been a lot of offense being implemented into practice. It has been really strictly defense and making sure that they're in tip-top shape and able to defend the ball, because he believes, and he said it in his presser from Bobby Knight, he believes that defense is what wins games. And if anything was evident tonight, it was that defense wins games. From the very beginning, you saw Xavier Johnson pick up full court. He on every point guard that he was able to guard. You saw Parker Stewart pick up full court. Rob Finney, all the point guards did a really good job picking up full court. And defense turned into offense. It was a lot of man-to-man, and it was heavy pressure. And they all communicated very well on the defensive end of the ball, which you can have any kind of athlete you want, but if your team isn't communicating on defense, then it's not gonna show. And they did a very good job of communicating, and that was something that was also very evident in practice the day before. Offensively, like I said, and he said in his presser, they haven't had a lot of time to implement anything on the offensive end of the ball, and he mentioned that he was very anxious to see what the offense looked like because, like I said, they haven't been able to really work on it as much as they really wanted to. And Woodson was very impressed with what he saw. There wasn't, to Indiana Hoosier fans' excitement, there was not a lot of stagnant offense. There was no wait till there's 10 seconds left. Yeah. There was no wait till 7 to 10 seconds left and call for a high ball screen and try and get down to the rim. It was working early in the shot clock. It was using your defense and making it turn into offense, and then the 3 ball. It just makes me excited for the rest of the season, because we're here and we can only go up. And that's something that Miller Kopp said. He at the end of the game, he said, where we are now is impressive, but it's only, it's a microcosm of really where we're going to be.
There you go. By the way, superstar Hoosier Trayce Jackson-Davis hit up Twitter right after the game and tweeted 4 simple words: "Man, that was fun." That's all. That's all that needs to be said, I guess, from the Hoosier star out of Center Grove High School.
I talked to him a little bit after the game as well, and I was like, what was it like? He touched on, the fans, and I was like, it's only 300 people. When you get to Assembly Hall and it's packed, it's going to be so much different. And I was like, what was it like? And he was like, being here in the Bahamas with the 300 people, it's not an arena whatsoever. It's a ballroom that drew a court down in. And he said, it just brings so much energy to his team, or to the team. And we've seen it before. Trayce feeds off that. The entire team feeds off of it. And he said that he's so excited to get back to the 6-man Assembly Hall crowd. That's what he called it, the 6-man, and be able to feed off their energy this season, because he feels like this is going to be a very special team.
Those are good words to hear, even if it's August 13th here and the season doesn't start.
I think it's even better to hear if it's August 13th.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, right. I mean, you got 3 months to go till roughly 3 months to go till the Hoosiers' first regular season game. Tonight they knocked off BC Mega 79-66. They put up 29 points off their bench. Their biggest lead was 17 points in the Hoosiers. How about the Indiana Hoosiers defensively, scoring 33 points off turnovers. They forced 24 giveaways by BC Mega, including 6 by their superstar player, Nikola Jovic, who is projected to be a lottery pick in the 2022 NBA draft. Jovic played, and he played 29 minutes. He scored 3 points, shot 1 for 2 from the field, took 1 3 and missed it. He split a pair of free throws, recorded 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 6 turnovers, a steal, and a block. Yeah. Let's first start with Indiana's defense against Jovic. Jevan, how did you see the Hoosiers' coverage as a team? And then did any particular individual stand out in their defense against Nikola Jovic?
Yeah, so the team when it just comes to defense, like I said, they did a great job of talking. And with this BC Mega team, what they do best is move on the offensive end. And with back screens, with brush screens, it doesn't matter what kind of screen it is, they are doing it and they are moving. And they do a great job of moving the ball as they do it. So it's just a lot of movement on the offensive end. So if you're not communicating on defense, then you are going to have trouble, and that's when you're going to lose big time. And like I said, IU did such a good job of talking on the defensive end of the ball tonight. And one singular player that sticks out when it comes to with defending Jovic is a player that I mentioned doesn't necessarily show up on his score sheet. It's Jordan Geronimo. He did a phenomenal, and we saw it last year whenever we went to Iowa and he had to guard Luka Garza. He did a great job then, and he did the same thing tonight. You look at it, like you mentioned, Nikola played 29 minutes and he only took 2 shots. That's not because he was being conservative with the ball. He didn't have the chance to get up that many shots. And that's what was so impressive, was the on-ball pressure, being able to just eliminate the best player. And Jordan Geronimo he checked all the boxes tonight on the defensive end, and he's the reason why I believe Nikola had such an off night.
That's really interesting. Yeah, you talk about Geronimo. His athletic profile definitely leads people to believe he can guard multiple positions, both on the perimeter and inside. And if you're telling me he had a strong game defensively against Jovic, that's really interesting. Also, just noteworthy observation, BC Mega's leading scorer tonight was Deshaun Scoochie Smith, a name you might be familiar with from his time under head coach then Archie Miller at Dayton. Scoochie Smith played 30 minutes, scored 13 points tonight. So I thought that was a pretty funny situation as far as BC Mega is concerned, and a name that many of you, if you're even casual or more than casual college basketball fans, might be familiar with. As far as Indiana, again, from a team standpoint, Jevan, I'm thinking about the Hoosiers in transition, fast break, 3-point shooting. From a team standpoint, what did you see there? Did anything stand out in particular as the Hoosiers did score 79 points in 40 minutes against a pro team?
Yeah, I mean, offensively, the thing that stood out tonight was the 3-point shooting. And it wasn't necessarily the fact that we hit 7. It was maybe the fact that we took 19 and they were all good looks and they were confident looks. I can't stress enough how important Miller Kopp is going to be throughout this entire season. He's going to be someone who gets Trayce Jackson-Davis more easy looks inside as he's able to space the floor. And Parker Stewart. We didn't really have that the last couple of years, and we've talked about it endlessly throughout these podcasts. And we also saw it tonight with Tamar Bates. He's someone who can score at all 3 levels, especially outside from the 3-point line. So the more people that we have that can spread the floor on the court at the same time as Trayce Jackson-Davis, the more dominant you are going to see Trayce Jackson-Davis be. So the 3-point shooting stood out. And like I said, the 2-point guards, Xavier and Rob, downhill attacking. They weren't settling for mid-range jump shots, really. Everything was downhill and trying to get to the rim. And the ability to share the ball. We've seen the ability to share the ball maybe to a fault with this team in the past, but it looks a lot better when the 3-point shots are going down, for sure. So the 3-point shooting and the ability of the point guards to attack downhill is something that really stood out. But like I said, this team haven't had a chance to work on offense a lot, so it's going to look a little different probably, when like December, January. It will look different. I'm not going to say probably, it will look different. But tonight they looked really good on the offensive end without being able to work on anything. You're muted.
Oh, nice. Good catch. Good catch. Yeah, turnover on me there. It's first one of the night. Hoosiers knock off BC Mega 79-66 tonight in the Bahamas. We're talking to Jevan McCoskey, who's at the game here for another couple minutes. Jevan, the Hoosiers do play again on Sunday afternoon, the same opponent, same venue. What are 2 or 3 things you want to see out of Indiana in game 2 of this series before they fly back to the mainland?
I definitely want to see the defensive pressure stay at the level that it was, the level of intensity that we saw tonight. And I think that's something that Woodson is going to definitely preach, because it's something that got them the lead and kept the lead at 15, 14, 13 points is what it stayed at for what felt like a majority of the game. So defensive intensity is something that definitely needs to transfer over into Sunday. And I love the fact that this team is so deep. And we didn't even get to see Michael Durr, Anthony Leal. Logan Duncan might not play a ton, but he's a 7-footer that you can throw out there to if your bigs get in trouble, you still have a 7-footer on the bench. This team is so deep, and I love the fact that they are all getting valuable minutes, and they're doing a really good job with the minutes that they have for the most part. And that's something that I don't think needs to change throughout until Sunday and to Big Ten play and to hopefully turn. I don't think that needs to change whatsoever. I think if you have the ability to play 9, 10 guys, why not? Why take minutes off of other people if you're going to get the production elsewhere? So I think that's something that I would like to see Sunday as well, as see production from top to bottom again.
Health-wise, everyone good outside of the 3 guys that didn't play?
Yeah. There was a question at one point with Xavier. Someone came up and asked me if they thought he was hurt, and I didn't notice anything. And then he started the second half, so he was good. He was good to go. Yeah, there wasn't anything that I could tell other than the 3 that didn't play, and we don't even really know what it is with the other 3. It's just Leo doesn't. They weren't dressed.
Wonderful. Last, any closing thoughts, Jevan, here on this Friday night? The Hoosiers with a double-digit win against BC Mega, a very encouraging unofficial opener in the Mike Woodson era.
Yeah, I didn't think being able to go to bed in the Bahamas in the hotel would be any nicer, but going to bed in the Bahamas in my hotel after a 13-point win against a professional team makes it a little bit easier.
There you go. I love it. That about wraps it up for our 211th show of the Hoosier Sound. We're going to do the same type of thing on Sunday afternoon after game 2 of this Bahamas series. So make sure you're tuned in for that. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your support. Thank you to our live audience. You guys are all beautiful people. If you have any questions or whatever, hit us up on Twitter or hit us up on Facebook. We'll be the first one to answer them as Indiana wins by 13 points. To hear more fantastic episodes like the one you heard today, be sure to follow us on Twitter at IndianaHQ and at the Hoosier Sound to make sure you don't miss any in the future. You can also go to our website, IndianaHQ.com, to find it all in one place. But as always, thank you for listening, Hoosier Nation, and we will see you next time.